Hey.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, one and all, for everybody and anybody that joins us at any time to watch this conversation. You are very, very welcome. My name is Martin Gilchrist from Gilchrist & Co, and this is Monday Night Business Conversations. If you haven't seen one before, the idea is, imagine you're in a coffee shop with a couple of business friends. What would the conversation that you would have be, where you're discussing the ins and outs of business? Nobody's a particular expert, but you're just getting people's views, getting to the heart of the matter and the things that are really important. The inspiration, the motivation, the ups, the downs, the goods and the bads, and everything that makes business what it is. Hopefully, that's what these conversations are. And tonight, I am delighted, absolutely delighted to have two good friends of mine and two men I respect, admire, enjoy their company, and really appreciate the hard work that they're doing with Bizmerang. And we're going to get an opportunity to hear a lot more about that this evening over the course of the next 30 minutes or so. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm going to start off with the simplest part of this whole process. And I'm going to ask the guys to introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about who they are as people before we get into who they are as businessmen. And I think we shall start with Guy.
Oh, thanks for how you caught me on the hop there. Thanks, Martin. It's very good to be here. I've been actually looking forward to this all day. My name, if any of those who don't know me, my name is Guy Bucknell. I was a marketing strategist. Well, still I'm a marketing strategist by trade, but I'm also a co-founder of Bizmerang, the SME networking community that's presently working in Northern Ireland and spreading out across the island. So that's me.
Guy, if people were, I don't want to sound morbid, but if people were standing around your grave, what would be the number one thing you would want them to say about Guy Bucknell and his life?
Well, I think they'd be saying, "Thank God he's gone." But I told you I was sick. What would I like them to be saying about my? I would like them to be thinking, "What a nice guy." And he really, really did his level best to not only be the best person that he could be, or to be the best version of him, but he tried to help other people be the best versions of them.
Oh, well, never mind. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Shane, introduce yourself to everybody who's watching.
Thank you very much, Martin, and once again, thank you for inviting me on to this wonderful conversation with Beth and Guy. So, who am I? Well, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Shane McCann. Family man, got 4 kids, just 4 boys, not a boy, just joined our family there 3-4 weeks ago. So that's keeping me pretty busy at the moment, and probably understand why his last week I've been looking a bit bedeviled and tired looking, so that's why. So who am I as a person? Well, I think I'm quite, I suppose, curious person. I am always very interested, and that's what I like about you as well, Martin, with these conversations and all, interested in new ideas and new things and experimenting and just trying things out and seeing where it leads to and what happens. So that's the kind of guy I am. What would be written on my tombstone?
I didn't ask you that question. You don't have to answer.
Oh, right, sorry.
You made that one up. You made that one up yourself, Shane.
Okay. Tombstones answers questions that he hasn't been asked.
Very good. I do have a question for you that popped into my head. And Shane, I don't know if you knew this, but when we first met years and years ago, you struck me as
love at first sight.
Sorry?
Love at first sight? No.
It was close to love at first sight. Because I thought you were very suave and, elegant looking.
Well, I don't like the way you said you thought.
Yeah, I know it's changed.
He's
over
changed
time,
his glasses since. Don't worry.
It's changed over time. But I remember coming across you, and you looked like a man that was, in charge of his own destiny and was definitely going places. And you also looked very fit. And the question is, are you a sportsman, or were you a sportsman then? And what sports is it that you are interested in or get involved in, if any at all?
Right. Well, I wouldn't say I do much sports now. I would have went to the gym a lot. I would have done a little bit of kickboxing, not very good at it, but did a bit of it. And I used to play quite a bit of Gaelic football. So I would have done a lot of sports back years ago, but not so much now.
I love this question. That's why I love this question. I didn't know you were a boxer.
No. I did a little bit for like a couple of years. That's it.
A couple of years? Just to get in the ring once, I think, is a brave thing to do. Did you ever fight in front of a crowd, or was it always just training?
No, I did fight in front of a crowd, yeah.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get on?
Well, maybe someday I'll show you a video which will show you.
Okay.
It actually has to be a camera from the top.
Yes. You see me lying like that.
Very good. Do you know what? It's fascinating. You can know people for years and years and really not know them at all. And Guy, that's why I was wondering. I've known you for quite a while now.
Yeah, a couple of years, yeah.
And I know you're a professional, but I don't know what that professional is. Tell us a little bit about your professional background, what it is that you're actually trained and go out in the world and do to make a living.
Well, I go out in the world and do when I'm not doing Bizmerang.
Yes.
But by trade, I'm a marketing strategist. So I started my career, although I'm from Belfast, I started my career working for advertising agencies in London. So a lot of major brands. So I used to be king of direct mail back in the 90s. So if you got anything through your mailbox, or your parents got anything through your mailbox from British Airways, 40 Leisure Breaks, Panasonic or Panasonic Business Systems between about 1994 and 1997, it probably came off my desk. So I'd just like to apologize now to all the trees that we killed. So that's what I started off doing, is working in advertising agencies, particularly on the strategy side.
So you were a corporate beast, as it were.
Big time, yeah.
You fitted into the machinery of a large corporate organization with all the good and the bad that comes with that. And part of the good is the resources that are provided to you within that environment. You have a desk, a table, probably a car, people helping you do the work. You can direct people to do stuff that you need to be done. Yes, you have to take the responsibility for it, but it's a completely different world to the world of small business. How do you compare and contrast the two? Is one better than the other?
I wouldn't go back.
I
wouldn't go back. Oh no, not at all. No, I mean, I did that until about 1999, and I started a business of my own, again, another bootstrap startup, which was hard graft for 9 years. But once you've done that and you've run your own show, you've learned the lessons the hard way. It's very, very difficult to go back and start singing to somebody else's tune. I've tried it a couple of times, and it
hasn't worked. You're unemployable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Until I met Shane.
Yeah. I think that happens to all of us. I think when we've all tasted the liquor of self-employment, it is so hard to go back and fit into somebody else's mold. It's like it's a bit like when we've all been off now furlonged or SEISS'd. We spent so long working in our slippers that putting on a pair of lace-up shoes might not be so comfortable anymore.
So they don't ask me to walk very far on them. Yeah, no.
Shane, you were and you still are. Yeah, it hasn't stopped, hasn't gone away. You haven't lost all the knowledge, but you were a solicitor, and I know that you were. It's a career that you wanted all your life. From the youngest memories of childhood, you were going to be a solicitor. Why and where does a solicitor start something like Bizmerang? How did that even come into your psyche that you wanted to do something like this?
I guess it started as, I suppose, the stories of a lot of startups, which is I was trying to scratch my own itch. And a number of years back, probably 4 years back or so now, but I was feeling particularly itchy at the time. And
You couldn't get a cream for it those days.
if only I got that cream, I would have saved all this out of bother. But yes, at the time, so I was partner in the firm, and I had to find my own clients. And of course, going through law school, no one tells you this is what you do to get clients. It's not something that you're taught or anybody explains to you or whatever. So the first question I had when I realized that I had to do that was, how do you go and get your own clients? What do you do? There's no book, there's no guidance, no nothing at all. So I was told, well, you have to start networking and get referrals from people and stuff like that. And was the next question that came into my mind was, how do you do that? And I started looking into it and started going along to some networking events and found that I was going to lots of events, but not really getting anywhere. You know, you would meet people, you'd stand in the corner room drinking tea, and yeah, you would talk to lots of people that night, and maybe you'd pick up lots of business cards, and some of them you would email them a few days later and not hear from them, and you weren't really creating business relationships. And for me, it didn't really seem to be something that was very efficient or was really working. So rather than complain about it, which I did, but rather than just complain about it, I decided, okay, well, let's do something about it. So I started off doing Zoom meetings whenever Zoom meetings weren't really a thing. And there was about, I think, Martin, you may have been around back then, and there was about 10 or 15 of us.
Declan Barry described it back in NAM, when we were discussing the Social Media Association. And I remember you when it was Referral Tuesdays.
Referral Tuesday, yes.
That was a brilliant name. I don't know what happened to that brilliant name, but we moved onwards and upwards. And it has become, I have to say, a phenomenal. I can't say the word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Phenomenon. Yeah.
Phenomenon. Can you say phenomenon, guy? Phenomenal. It's become that.
How many F's does that have in it? I don't know.
I don't even know how to spell it, but it's. But the thing about it is now completely unique within Northern Ireland. There are other very good networking groups that are doing great work in their own way.
Yeah.
But what Bizmerang does is unique and special, and it engages people in a way that maybe those other groups don't. And so it's not that they don't engage, but they don't engage in a way that Bizmerang does. And I think since you two guys have come together, what was great has become brilliant. So the question is, how did you meet? How did you two guys come together and decide that you were going to work together on this project?
Shane, can I answer this?
Yes.
I part of the things that I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years is because I had done a startup. I've been mentoring a lot of startups with Catalyst Inc. in Belfast, and so I would see maybe 10 or 12 startups a year come across my desk. And I made a decision about 3 years ago that I wanted to do another one before I retired, because I am a little bit older than I look, in case you hadn't noticed. So I decided that I wanted to do a startup, and then I put myself forward for this thing called Cofounders, which is a group or a thing run by Catalyst Inc. And typical me, the first evening was a Friday evening, and I was late. And I was the last one in, certainly last one up to dinner anyway. So I took the only seat that was left. And I'm sat there, and there was about 2 empty seats in the whole place. And then somebody was even later than me. And he sat down beside me. And he said, and we introduced ourselves. And he said, yeah, my name's Shane McCann. I have this thing called Bizmerang. And I went, I think I'm a member of that Facebook group. And so yeah, it came about from there. So it was through Cofounders at Catalyst Inc. is a really good, useful thing. And then Shane outlined what he had, and then we went through a process, the design think process, which we'll do quite a lot on our big event. But it was excellent, really good. And it was kind of, I don't know about you, Shane, but it was kind of, when Shane said, yeah, I've got 3,000 or 2,500 members, I just basically said, right, see for the rest of the weekend, you're not going anywhere. Do you remember that? And it's like, because I was so impressed with Bizmerang, what I liked about it at the time. I was like, I had like a tied him around the waist and said, right, no, we're going to build a team together.
Martin, I've been trying to escape ever since.
This is what I'm going to ask you then, Shane. So you sat down beside Guy. He's obviously a dynamic and engaging and inspiration. Think of a lot of good words. You'll just stick them on Guy for now. But what made you decide to take what was your baby and share it? Now, before you answer, I really want to delve into that. A business really is a baby. You know, people are invested emotionally and financially, and they put their resources and their time into it. To share that with someone else is always a difficult thing. When you looked at Guy, what made you take that leap? What was it that Guy was bringing to the table that you
I'm
felt?
not listening.
Well,
I guess first of all, yes, you're right. Yeah, Bizmerang still is my baby, our baby now. What was my baby, and it is very hard to open that up, so to speak. But I guess at the time I was realizing I'd brought Bizmerang so far, and I realized that it could be so much more powerful. In my mind, what I was imagining, what I was thinking about it, because I mean, I constantly what always guides me is what do I want, as a small business owner, what do I want to keep scratching my own itch the whole way. I think if I can keep scratching my own itch, there'll be other people like me who have this itch. So, if I keep to that rather than thinking to myself how to make money or, how to whatever, I think that's a good way to guide yourself. At the time with Bizmerang, I brought it so far, but I just thought to myself, there's so much more value that could be created if we build this community into something even more powerful. And that's why I joined the Catalyst Cofounders program, because I thought to myself, okay, I've brought it so far. I think I would need assistance and help with pushing it even further. And even though it was my baby and it's hard to let some of that go, for me, what I was thinking, if I wanted to really foresee or see that future that I had in mind, then this is the path that I had to go down. And Guy, he when speaking to me, he brought a lot of experience and knowledge about startups and marketing and growing a startup. So that so I thought he's the guy. And he shared that image and picture of what I had in mind.
Okay. So the two of you have been working together now for a while, and you've developed something. So there's it started off as a Facebook group page that grew incredibly quickly. There was a whole lot of engagement on there. It then became the issue where it became a little bit unwieldy because there's so many people posting so much stuff that maybe people were getting lost in the feed or didn't quite understand what was going on. So you tried to do something with that in relation to what's happened now. Guy, what has happened? Give us a little bit about where Bizmerang is now compared to what it was.
Well, first of all, what we just on the co-founders program, what we did was we took the whole thing through a design think process, where we were essentially looking at what do these guys need. First off, who are these guys? Then there were small business people. So there were business people who are owning and operating small businesses, which is no bad thing, and a lot of solopreneurs. So the first thing was what is difficult for them about networking at the moment. And as Shane was describing earlier on, he had this itch because it is expensive, it's time consuming, it's a lot of it can be a waste of time. We've all been there, and you drive around the countryside shaking hands and kissing babies, and not much comes of it. So we went through this process, and we realized that there was two things that really came out for me. It was first off was, yes, break it down into smaller circles, and there are other organizations do that. So there's moms at work and all that sort of stuff, and Lean In and 8 do something quite similar as well. But the real thing for me actually was when the first Zoom call that I attended with Shane, because I was going to Zoom call, really? Well, you get all these people from all over the place who get on, but it was brilliant. There was sort of 16, 17 people in the room. But the one thing about it was the guy in the middle. And first off, that was Shane, who is really good when he's hosting those networking meetings. But the second thing that became quite obvious is that it needs a human being in the middle of it. So if what's different about it, what we do now, we have the separate app, as you know. So rather than relying on AI, and in the original team, the three of us, there was three of us, and there was another guy who was a specialist in AI. But rather than an AI and relying on a computer to decide who you should be having a conversation with or building a relationship with, it was actually much more important to get a human being in the middle of that, and a human being who was incentivized, but also was good at what they did in terms of this networking and bringing together. And that's the big difference. And that's why, so yes, Bizmerang, on the face of it, you have the Facebook group and you've got the interaction in there, and we've changed how the content works on there, but you've got that, but you have the app as well, but there's a lot fewer members on it. But even then, there's 120 people in there talking away and working with each other. But it breaks down into even smaller circles again, so that everybody gets something out of it. And really close relationships are grown with lots of small communities within the large community. And it was kind of galvanized by COVID, by the lockdown, that in fact, actually at that point, it also galvanized us into what can we really do to help these people help each other, which is why we came up with network and knowledge. So the networking is that we're saying that at the end of this process, people need to get their business are going to have change. They're going to have to change the way they do business. And the one thing that's going to be, well, there's two things that are going to be really useful. The first thing is a deep and strong networking community of peers that you can draw on, you can learn from when things are going bad, that you can call on and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? Can anybody help me with this? And that's all. And that comes from a really strong network, which is what we really have a very strong network of our members now. And the second thing was the knowledge. You mentioned earlier on our lunch and learn sessions. What we wanted is to happen is that the vast majority of people who start a business or run a small business, they come from it from a product point of view. So you as an accountant, Martin, you started off as an accountant, and then you run a business as an aside. Luckily for you, it's an accountant, so you understand business practices and all that sort of stuff. But you get lots of other people who have got a product, like they want to sell small trees or they want to do something, and they come from a product background and they haven't had this business issue, this business training beforehand. And neither did I, and I learned on the hoof. And what you find is that when times get tough, that in fact it's those basic business processes, you know as well as I do, that if you fall back on to keep the business going. Because if it's not a trading business, it becomes a hobby, an expensive hobby at that. Yeah. And so that's what we've been doing with our lunch and learns, and it's worked out incredibly well, and it's set the pattern for where we're going to go now for the next 2, 3, 4 years, is this network and this knowledge thing to help each other grow.
That explains the business very, very well from here looking down. It's a good overview. Shane, tell us practically, from a practical sense of what an individual can gain when they attend one of the meetings. What are those things that are happening? Now, we're going to talk about there's a fantastic event coming up that I'm going to get into, but certainly before we finish. But on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, there are practical things that people can engage in. What are those and what happens?
Well, I'll give you examples of a couple of different groups. We call them circles on the app. First one is the Belfast local circle. So what we're doing is, and we'll be launching more of these local groups around Northern Ireland and then beyond. And if you join your local group, what you will the benefit you'll get from that is you'll be joining a small community of local business people in your local area. So the reason why I keep thinking back to my original pitch, I want to network with local business peers so I can gain knowledge from them. I can create sort of business relationships with them that'll help me to grow my business and get referrals. And I'm going to get more benefit if I'm a small local business. I will probably get more benefit if I'm networking with those other local people. So we have like a group for business people in Markerfeld, in Antrim, and Newry, in Belfast, etc., and be launching more groups as we go along. And when you join one of those groups, you will be able to attend the meetings. At the meetings, it's all about encouraging and fostering those strong business relationships between the members. So what we have in our meetings is that we carry out a number of roundtable discussions, whereas in smaller roundtables, we really delve deep into a particular business topic, and we learn from each other about that particular topic, and we share ideas, and we ask questions, etc. And then also at those meetings, you have a number of one-to-one meetings with other members, so that you're really creating those strong business relationships.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to, sorry for cutting across you, but I think it's very important to point out the practical benefit of that I have experienced. Mm-hmm. And that is, at the end of the day, even though we don't go along looking for business, lots and lots of people are getting clients out of this. And I have got loads. As a matter of fact, it's been so successful for me, I've had to take a bit of a step back, because as a small practice, there's only so much growth that we can take. And we were winning so many new clients that it was becoming a little bit embarrassing. And the referrals and stuff we were getting out.
Martin, do you know what I love about it? I love about it is that people are getting all this business, but nobody tries to sell anything. Yes. So we have changed the content on the Facebook group, for example, that anybody who comes on tries to put a post in the Facebook group and says, "Hey, this is my business," or "Hey, we're running this event," or "Come to my webinar." You just don't get on. Mm-hmm. You really just don't get on, because that's not what it's about. You don't need to. That's exactly, and that's what this is about, whole building this community. And that's why I love it. And that's why, so for example, we have quite a lot of, I have one particular member whose name I won't mention, but she is a sort of a middle-aged woman who really wouldn't say boo to a goose, all right? She has quite a successful MLM business and a property business as well, but she would not say boo to a goose, but she loves Bizmerang because nobody's trying to sell her anything. She doesn't have to keep saying, no, it's okay, I don't want that, or no, thanks for your offer, but I don't want that. It's just she puts it in there and says, this is the issue that I have, who can help?
Yeah.
And
it definitely works brilliantly.
That's brilliant.
So that's where we are now. That's the practical benefits that you can get. Before we get on to the event, one last question I want to ask more generally about what you guys are doing. And that is, what is the dream? 10 years from now, or 5 years, I don't know how far you've done your timeline out for your ambition. And I'll give you a sense of where I'm coming from in relation to this. So when Michelle and I started our business, almost 14 years ago now, as a practice. We were both working self-employed before that, but we started the practice, registered as a chartered accountancy practice with the Institute 14 years ago, and set up an LLP and kicked off, and away we went. The vision we had in our mind was a cottage industry for the modern age. A cottage industry for the modern age. And that was a picture we had in our minds, an actual cottage sitting in the rural county down countryside, surrounded by trees and rabbits and badgers,
birds singing.
Birds singing. I can hear them now tweeting away, and all that. But at the same time, being able to work together as a family, because we actually like each other. You know, we enjoy each other's company. And some people go, "How do you stick it? Being stuck together in 2 weeks?" You know, we love it because we enjoy the interaction. We don't step on each other's toes in any way. That was our dream, and that's what we built towards. And there isn't a trade sale planned in the next 5 years. Not that there's anything wrong with trade sales, but basically the idea of this practice is it's a livelihood rather than a business for simple profit making.
It's a lifestyle business. It's a lifestyle
business. A lifestyle business that we see continuing like this, and sort of the same vein, only getting better and better over the years. What's the dream for you guys? Is there a picture in mind? And I want the both of you to tell me what that picture looks like. Now, we've got 10 minutes left, so I've got my 10-minute warning, so keep it short, but, you know, draw us into that picture.
My dream is I suppose, is less about me and more about community. But what I want to see is I imagine this being a worldwide network, a worldwide community, where if you're a small business owner, no matter where it is, whether it's Belfast, you know, some little town in Ohio in America, or wherever, that if you need help with starting your business and growing your business, and you need to make those connections, you don't come from maybe a well-connected background, whatever, and you need that help, that Bizmerang is there to help you. You know, that's the first place that when people think of, okay, I'm starting a business, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going to get support. You know, a small business owner can be very lonely, very hard to do it, especially if you don't have experience or the money or whatnot. I want all business owners around the world to think automatically of Bizmerang. That's where you go, and that's where you're going to get your support. Bizmerang will be there to help you to start your business, to grow your business, and to turn it into something amazing for you.
Brilliant. So the picture you have in your mind is a picture of a community that's there supporting each other, facilitated by Bizmerang. Absolutely brilliant. Guy, what's the picture you have in mind? What do you visualize when you think about success?
My picture has changed enormously. So when I first met Shane, I put a big picture of a boat up in the Caribbean and said, that's where I want to be by the time my 56th birthday comes along. But my picture has changed. It's changed very much to what Shane is talking about. One of the things we've learned over the last year and a half is about community and building a community, and that's a strength. So part of our community is that our business plan is that the majority of the earnings or the revenues that come into the business go back to the members who contribute the most into the community. All right. So for us, getting a huge mega exit isn't really on as big as it might have been envisaged earlier on, but that's a really, really good thing. And so my vision is, and Shane and I haven't rehearsed this, but my vision is almost exactly the same as Shane is talking about there. The only difference is I see the community having some ownership of this, as well as taking revenue from it, but the community potentially having some ownership out of it as well. Now, how we go about that, whether we do it as a franchise system or whether we do it where we do some form of crowdfunding, where we sell some of the business or raise funds through crowdfunding and the members, where we make special offers to the members or not, I have no idea yet. Right now, for myself and Shane, I think Shane would agree, is that we're still trying to perfect, or it's getting better and better and better every week, but at perfecting the model, and then how we can make that all over, take it all over the world.
That's brilliant. It's really good to get an insight into where you really want to take it. And I think I can speak from personal experience to say that that's authentic. Knowing the both of you, that isn't just a story, words to make it sound like these are nice guys and make people feel good about what Bizmerang's doing. I can tell that that's genuine because I know
Thank you very much.
What you guys are like and what you are about. And it comes across that way. You come across as genuine, truthful, authentic, and sincere. So I hope I really, really hope you achieve that, because
if you remember, you're coming with us. That's just the way it is, and you are a member, I know.
So now there's something very exciting coming up. Something very, very exciting coming up. I'm calling it the event. But the event has got a name. Shane, what's the name of the event?
I'll let Guy introduce the event.
Okay, because the event is called Ready for the Next Normal. So when COVID came in, Shane and I had this, as I said earlier on, had this conversation about what do we do? How do we help these guys help each other? And one of the things that we had to do was set a date, what we potentially thought was the end date, because we needed to make a plan of how we were going to help these guys help themselves. So we set an end date of June the 30th as to when we thought, at the time we were 9th or 10th of March or something like that, as to when we might be able to see over the hill as to what might the next normal be. Not necessarily be in the next normal, but what that next normal would be. And so we then built this how we were going to get there. And one of the things that changed, it was a fantastic suggestion of Shane's, is, well, why do we do an event at the end, work up to that event, and that's where we are. So the event is essentially called Ready for the Next Normal, and it's almost a summary of what we've been doing so far, but with some big people involved who have been here before. So part of what came out of what we've been doing over the last 3 or 4 months is that everybody's going, oh my word, who knew? What a disaster! Who knew a disaster like this is coming? And one of the things that people have been through the mill, yourself included, Martin and myself, as startups, is that things like this come along all the time. This just happens to be a particularly big one. Okay, but I got caught out in the aftermath of 9/11 and after the 2008 banking crisis, and they happen to entrepreneurs, and it knocks you flat. So essentially what we wanted to do was to run an event where, first off, we would start off with somebody introducing this is the situation as it is right now. This is what's happening in the COVID world. This is what's happening in the political world, and because that will run lockdowns and all that sort of stuff, which we do. We have Ian Parsley for that, who's brilliant. Check out his blog. It is very, very good.
Ian Parsley.
Ian James Parsley. In fact, if you'll see he posts in the Bizmerang and in the Bizmerang Facebook group as well. He is a history and local politics in here from no particular side, but he's Mr. Stato. He's been doing. He's had with the Alliance Party. I think he's had the brief for health and education on that team for a long time. So he's been blogging about health matters in the north of Ireland and around Europe for a long time.
I'm going to cut across you here, Guy. I don't know. Can you see the countdown clock?
Yeah, I can see it. 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So I got to cut it quick, cut it short.
I'm going to give you until the last minute between you and Shane, and then I'll take the last minute.
So the big thing though is we have a panel discussion of entrepreneurs who have been there and lost heavily and come back again. So Gavin Wall, classic example, started off as a barrister, lost everything, came back at a very successful business. Mark Dowds, early owner investor in Uber, previously lost it all, come back. Myself, been there, done it, all that sort of stuff. So we've got those guys saying this is what happens, this is what it feels like, and then we've got people like Arnie van Oostrum then coming up afterwards, basically saying, so now that you understand that your business can fail or can be hit like this, here is a process, the design think process, from which we developed Bizmerang on, the design think process of how you can redevelop your business and to take it forward. And Arnie is the guy who made that famous worldwide. And then the last one we have in the morning is a guy called Brian Main, who developed a thing called goal mapping. And Brian Main started off, couldn't read, cut a long story short, was a multimillionaire by the time he was 29, lost the lot, and could barely read when he lost his business. And came back and now has 4 million people around the world using his system. And then there's some other people talking about marketing in the afternoon. Some guy called Guy Bucknell. You don't want to worry about him.
Everybody's snacking by that stage. Way to the pub.
And there's lots of breakout rooms and all that sort of stuff. And all these guys will be holding breakout rooms and all that. So it's great. So
very good. That sounds like it's going to be absolutely superb. In the last 30 seconds, Shane, is there anything that Guy didn't get in that you have a burning urge to tell us?
No, the only other thing that just came to my mind, to give you some idea of where I like to go with things and with the app and all. On the app, I'm always trying to scratch my own itch. One thing I'm very much big into is reading books, business books, mindset books, etc. But lots of times I've found that I've not always finished those books, and I have a big pile of books sitting there that haven't always been finished. And so I've created a group on the app called 12 Mentors. Mm-hmm. Idea being that each book is a mentor and different mentor each month. And in our 12 Mentors group as a community, we are choosing a new book each month. We then each read that book, mm-hmm. take notes on it. We share the knowledge and the wisdom that we've got from that book. At the end of the month, we hold a mastermind meetup, which will be online, where we discuss the group and where we discuss.
Go to the group, everybody. See the book thing. It is absolutely brilliant. Shane, I'm sorry to cut across you. It's just we're going to run out of time.
Thank you.
Cut off a little bit. Guys, I want to say thank you very much for the both of you. I'm going to talk to you afterwards on the wee messenger thing. Thanks for joining us. If there's one thing I was going to add, just because we're going into a deep recession, that's going to happen. It will not hit everybody in the same way. It will not be the end of the world.
Oh, exactly.
If we team together